With the devastating news out of Georgia by now, you've all heard this story. Another community is grieving after another senseless school shooting in this country.
Two 14-year-old students and two teachers were killed in a mass shooting at Apalachee High School in Winder, Georgia. 9 others, including 8 students and 1 teacher, were wounded and hospitalized, all of whom are expected to survive. Apalachee High School had received a phone threat on the morning of the shooting, the 4th of August, 2024, warning that there would be shootings at 5 schools and that Apalachee would be the first. According to report, there's no evidence of other schools being targeted, but investigators are pursuing any leads of any potential associates of the shooter that was involved in this incident. At this point, there's no evidence that any additional shooter was involved and no evidence of a list of schools being targeted. Schools in the county will be closed for the week while the investigation plays out. The gun used in Wednesday's shooting was an AR platform weapon, according to the Georgia Bureau of Investigation director. A law enforcement official told CNN earlier it was an AR-15 style rifle. Authorities still are investigating how the suspect brought into the school the AR platform style weapon that was used in the shooting. We're still trying to clarify a lot of the timeline from the time that he got here to school today until the incident, said the director of Georgia Bureau of Investigation, Chris Hosey, the shooter, who has been identified as 14 years old Colt Gray. Investigators are not sure when Colt would make his first court appearance, are sure it would be in a reasonable amount of time. Colt Gray was questioned by law enforcement last year when he was 13 regarding several anonymous tips about online threats to commit a school shooting at an unidentified location and time, according to a joint statement from the FBI Atlanta and the Jackson County Sheriff's Office. The online threats included photographs of guns, according to the statement. The suspect and his father were then interviewed by the county sheriff's office. The father stated he had hunting guns in the house, but the Colt did not have unsupervised access to them. The subject denied making the threats online. Jackson County alerted local schools for continued monitoring of the subject. At that time, there was no probable cause for arrest or to take any additional law enforcement action on the local, state, or federal levels, the statement said. Student Liella Syrath said the suspected shooter left the classroom at the beginning of their Algebra 1 class around 9:45 a.m. When he returned near the end of the class, he knocked to get back in. Another student went to open the door, but Liella said that student noticed the gun and didn't open the door. She said the shooter went to the classroom next door and opened fire.
He wasn't like anything out of the ordinary. He was just another quiet kid that didn't really talk too much.
I heard you earlier in another broadcast say he was the type of kid that you would think might do something like this.
I think it kind of got twisted. I don't like that statement.
Okay.
Just because it just sounds wrong, like to be like, oh yeah, this kid would shoot at school. Like, of course it would be this kid. I'm just saying, like, when people put a stereotype on people, he fits sort of the stereotype. But not that, like, oh, I would look in the classroom and be like, oh, that kid's the one that's going to shoot up our class.
If you wouldn't mind just helping people who weren't in this school understand what it was like, what you recall hearing and seeing before you made it to safety yourself.
All I remember is him at the door, the teacher seeing him at the door, saying over the intercom, like, oh, he's here, students going to open the door, then backing up from the door, I guess if they saw something, and then you kind of see him turn more to like my right side, and then you just hear about 10 to 15 shots.
Do you remember a last conversation or what he may have said, and why don't you think he did go into the classroom or target the classroom?
I think if he could have gone in, he would have come in, but it's locked. So all these doors automatically lock, so he can't get in unless you let him in through the inside. Any conversation? Not really. He doesn't really speak.
Has it sunk in?
No, I don't think it's sunk in yet. I think it all just kind of feels numb. It all just felt like it didn't happen, like it's not real.
The Sheriff's Department received the first reports of the shooting around 10:20 a.m. Law enforcement arrived shortly after those calls, in addition to 2 school resources officers assigned to Apalachee High. Resource officer confronted the shooter, who immediately surrendered to the deputy and was taken into custody. When the shooting happened, all schools in the district were placed in lockdown, and police were sent out of an abundance of caution to all district high schools. The FBI and the ATF were later on the scene working with local and state officials. A student shared his last moments with his math teacher.
When I first came into class, Miss Ermi, she be telling corny jokes. And at the time, it's just like, when you're a student, you're just like, what is she talking about? But now it's just like, dang, And Miss Ermi, she was real nice. I'm not gonna lie, my freshman year, I didn't pass algebra, so I'm retaking algebra my junior year. And she never made me feel ashamed about it. She never made me feel dumb. You could get a question wrong on the board, and she's not gonna make you feel dumb. She really make you, she'll make you feel welcome. And all she do is just tell random jokes, and she really make you feel welcome, and she'll help you out. I'm not really good at math, but I just got the understanding of math just this year, being 3 weeks of school. That same morning, she walked up to me, and I had threw up yesterday, so she asked me if I was okay. And she was asking me to come to class on time, because my class is like right across the whole school, so I be coming to class late. She was begging me to come to class on time today, and I didn't know that was gonna be my last time seeing her and talking to her.
Some students shared their thoughts and fears about the bizarre situation.
I thought I was gonna die. It sounded so close, I'm sure it was, because it was right near. I don't know exactly which door, but you hear bang, bang. It's something you never think will happen, like you pray about it every day, like, Lord, just let me go to school safe. And there's...
I was looking in the mirror and I hear doom, 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 doom. I started running in my classroom's right in front of the bathroom, so I ran to my classroom. I'm just banging on the door. I'm like, bro, let me in, please let me in. My teammate Hunter, he comes running and he pushes the door open, and I finally get in.
I was praying. I told my classmates to pray. My classmates were praying. And then the cops came in, so everybody put their hands up, and rightfully so. They told us to get out, leave everything that we have. And we look around, and I saw this kid laying on the floor, dead, right, with detached AR on the floor, and they just told us to keep our heads straight, make sure not to look around.
If something like this can happen here when you think it's a normal day, it can happen anywhere. And that's what really hurts.
I was scared I was gonna die, to be honest. And when I heard hard lockdown, I knew it wasn't a drill.
He never really talked. He was pretty quiet. He wasn't there most times. Either he just didn't come to school or he just would skip class.
So he was in class with you, in algebra class. He left. Then he came back.
They lock automatically, so you have to be let in to come back into our classroom. They almost let him in, but I'm pretty sure she saw that he had a gun, and so she backed away. And then he turned away, and that's when you hear the first rounds of fire.
The red alert popped up on the screen, and then a light went off, and it sort of hit me what was happening. Went to a corner. The teachers were a little bit panicked, but they held themselves. They got us in the corner.
And then everyone ducked behind desks, and teachers flipping tables and stuff and barricading the door.
And then that's when I texted my mom and my dad. I was like, I love you guys if anything happens.
After a while, the police came in. They kicked down the door. They're just asking if everyone was okay.
Keep your head up. Keep your head up.
I started running. He started shooting like 10 times. He shot at least 10 times. And then
Not long after a parent, Dr. Anetra Patman said goodbye to her 14-year-old daughter Macy right as she headed for school. She received a text, "Mom, I'm scared. I hear gunshots. Please come get me." Patman, who is a teacher at an alternative school in Barrow County, about 5 miles from Apalachee High School in Winder, Georgia, immediately showed the messages to her own school principal. Once it was confirmed from the principal that yes, there was an active shooter, my main thing was to keep in contact with my daughter, Patman said. I told her no matter what you do, keep texting me, just text me to let me know that you're okay. Patman, an educator for about 22 years, had practiced active shooter drills for about 10 years. I knew she couldn't call me, I knew that I couldn't get her, I knew all of those things, and so I simply just tried to assure her that she was okay, that her teachers would make sure she was okay, Patman said. Meanwhile, Macy and a group of girls held hands together to pray. Moments later, they were disrupted by banging and yelling, according to Macy. I heard gunshots outside my classroom and people screaming, people begging not to get shot, and then people sitting beside me just shaking and crying, Macy said. Schools in the county will be closed for the rest of the week while an investigation into the incident plays out, according to school district officials. Macy, like every other student, is worried about returning to school. I really don't want to go back. I feel like I shouldn't have to go back to school worrying about dying. I want to go to school worrying about what my GPA is going to be when my year is over and worrying about my career. The victims were identified as Mason Shimmerhorn, 14, student; Christian Angulo, 14, student; Richard Aspinwall, teacher; Christina Irami, teacher. Aspinwall and Irami were math teachers at Apalachee, according to the school's website, which also lists Aspinwall as the defensive coordinator of the school's football team.
The shooter is in custody. His name is Colt, that's Colt Gray. He is a 14-year-old student here at the high school. He will be charged with murder and he will be tried as an adult.
It was very quiet. A lot of people were crying. It was like everybody was scared. People were screaming, calling their moms and everything. And the teacher was making sure everybody was he was trying to keep the class calm and everything.
It's a time. How many more kids are going to die? How many more families are going to lose their kids before these gun-toting people do something? My daughter won't be going here no more. She'll be back at homeschooling. I won't be sending her back here to die.
This is a developing story as more and more new details are unfolding. Our hearts goes out to the victim's family, the entire staff and students of Apalachee High School and the whole Barrow County. Thank you for hanging out with us, and we hope to bring more details to this case as they unfold. Stay safe, be kind and make good choices.